Hey, what's going on? I'm B, the CEO. Welcome back to Menbuse. Today's video will be about this very must-have conversation. Are we raising boys to be soft? Let's get to it.
Are we raising boys to be too soft or too silent?
Um, I don't think that they're too soft or too silent. I will say that as far as silence goes, um, social media is, at least in this day and age, an equally used space. As often as I'll see, a panelist of men on TikTok is as often as I'll see a panelist of women, vice versa on Instagram. So I think that everybody has something to say and is able to say it. I definitely, it depends on the definition of softness though, because what I do see a big difference in that I know the older generation of men call soft, um, is like, for instance, a perfect example is that I'll get on social media and talk to 35 and under, and they believe in the 50-50. They believe in a woman bringing something to the table. They believe in, what do you have to offer? um if I buy you a gift, are you going to buy me a gift? And I do understand that a lot of older men see that as like them being softer, because 35 and up doesn't think that that's necessary. 35 and up doesn't necessarily advocate for a woman to go to work and not just sit around and do et cetera, et cetera.
Well, the reason why, these older men, 35 and up, the old generation, that they can't think about 50-50 is because they were raised in a time where women had no rights. The law literally had it where women couldn't work, couldn't vote, couldn't work. So these men, all they known their entire lives was, well, the law, like a society at the time said, because the woman can't work, I have to provide for everything. I got to pay 100% for every single thing because she's not bringing any kind of income at all. And at the same time, around that time too, keep that in mind, everything was like a lot cheaper. Housing was a lot cheaper. Groceries, bills were a lot cheaper. So, in other words, these men, these old generation, they didn't know any better, right? So when the law got updated a little bit and changed, we realized that, hold on, the way y'all thinking about partnership is outdated. We saying partnership means 50-50. If you're gonna get married, it have to be 50-50 because the 35 and younger generation, we saw how the older generation went through stress growing up, like as fathers, as husbands, and taking care of their wives and the kids. Like, bro, y'all paying for every single thing. Meanwhile, when the wife is making her money, which she was making money, that money was only for her. Meanwhile, the man, the money that he made was for them, was for the wife, was for the kids, was for everything. And whatever he had left, a little crumb, he'll use it on himself. And we've seen how these older men just were, they were very stressed out. We see how our dad was very stressed out, working, doing all the providing and protecting and all that kind of stuff. And then we also saw that how if it didn't work out, the marriage fell. Not only that these men were paying for everything when they was together with their wives, but when it was over, the law said, well, she'll get damn near everything that you have. Even though you pay 100% for the house, she's gonna get the house. Even though you've been providing the 100% for the kids, she'll get 100% of the children, and you got to pay her child support every single month. On top of that, of getting your assets, your investments, your house, your car, the kids, you have to pay her alimony. You have to pay her every single month until she get remarried. So we like, man, that don't make sense at all. So the entire time, the money she made was her money. The money you made was her money. And then now that y'all broken up, the money that you have left is her half. Is either gonna be her money half or the whole thing sometime. So we're like, bro, that don't make no sense at all. The old generation didn't mind having their wives or spouse, whoever, just sit at home, do nothing at all, just be bums. be scrubs and bums. We're like, nah, man. Like we need someone that's gonna either, meet us halfway. And in regards to that, this is why you're seeing right now a lot of, like, especially in our culture, you're not seeing generational wealth. You're not seeing a lot of kids now, as we adults now, they're not stable financially. In other words, you can't build a dynasty or generational wealth if you are the only person in the relationship that's providing everything financially. It doesn't make sense. That means we can't save money properly. I can't invest in anything else because I got to invest everything all in on you. So we're going to remain in this broke cycle because one person don't believe that she should put in anything at all. Us, man, we're not saying you got to pay for the house and this and that. We're saying, hey, just bring in something. We're a partner. Partnership means 50-50. If you can't come in with 50-50 on anything, what's the partnership? Where is it at?
Now, as far as mental health, I kind of feel like the mental health of younger men would be a little bit better since they're more comfortable expressing their opinions, their feelings, what's going on, et cetera, et cetera. Like, I don't see a shortage of young men being like stifled in their feelings. Like, they'll get on there and they'll be like, I don't care if you think that that makes me a bitch that I'm on here yelling about my issues with women. I want to express it. I want to talk about it. I want to say what I got to say. So I don't really think that they're silenced or softer in that manner because even this year, when it was Men's Mental Health Month, I saw that talked about a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot.
But then why are all the channels that talk about that kind of stuff demonetized and kicked off all the platforms? Like I've gone through 8 TikToks, 3 Instagrams demonetized on YouTube. You don't see that for like Call Her Daddy, which says openly like misandrous stuff, or other platforms that advocate for women's issues.
Now, whether you like Pearl or not, which I like her, I like how she be about business when it comes to like, things like this. She make a very valid point, right? A lot of times, man, if you look at all the channels that they're trying to like speak up and say, hey, man, here's what's wrong with how men being treated in society or by women, we get demonetized, deleted, bullies, blocked, muted. We get make fun of, we get called names, literally. Meanwhile, for decades, before social media, for decades, there's been radio shows, talk shows, TV shows, etc., where women had the full power of constantly bashing men, calling men all kind of names. Men ain't ish, men are deadbeat, men are bad, men are evil, and they got paid to do so. Even now, they're being paid to keep bashing men and talk bad about men and what we're doing wrong and this and that. But when we say, hey, cool, all right, but here's how you guys can improve. Or hey, we don't like when y'all do this to us. We get demonetized.
I disagree like wholeheartedly because I've lived it, that it's the same. It's definitely not, because one is and it makes perfect sense why they do it. They make more money off of women. We just buy damn near anything. So,
I mean,
but yeah.
that's coming from an economic standpoint or like a business standpoint because it's not like the actual person that's trying to express themselves demonetize their own account. So we
Yes,
can't
yes,
say that
no,
because
that's
the
no.
account gets demonetized, it's a
Well,
direct correlation of them being softer or being
well,
silent.
well,
No,
no,
they're
but
talking about it.
it shows that one society accepts one and not the other. So it's like if you're paid to say misandrous things about men, and you literally make money off of doing it, which you see big content creators do that all the time, like Drew Afawala. I can't say her last name, but there's content creators like that make money. They're obviously going to do it more, right? I mean, when you're paid to do something, you do it more. One side is not paid, one side's paid. So
But
I just, yeah.
that has nothing to do with, are we as the parents raising our children to be soft or silent, and then do the children actually act soft or silent? That has everything to do with what the business and the company can make money off of. When you're talking
Mhm.
about
Well,
demonetization,
yeah,
we're
but
the question is
mhm.
are the children soft and silent? No, they're not. You just said that they're talking about it on the internet, but the internet is trying to shut them up, but they're not
Right,
silent or soft.
correct. But it's not just the internet, and this does affect the kids too, because like, you know, the school system's 90% women, and so even if you teach, like, the boys are kind of, you know, guys are pragmatic. If they speak up and the teachers punish them, if they go on social media and they're punished there, then they go to college, they're punished there, they just shut up. So it doesn't really matter how you raise the kids, because if the world punishes them for talking, they're just going to be silent.
That is true. And also, this kind of go back to like my point about the older man saying, these younger generation, they're, whatever, speaking up too much or whatnot, or they soft. Because like back then, right, men, these older men, they didn't have a voice. They couldn't speak up. Like Per just said, man, from as a boy, you get muted. You can't say this about women. You can't do this to women. You can't da da da. We get pushed in our head where we just here to protect, provide, and then die, right? So men couldn't speak up at all back then. They had no platform to speak up. A lot of these men, the only time they would speak up was like in barbershop amongst their peers, but they couldn't speak up at all publicly. Like the whole saying goes, happy wife, happy life. That's stupid, right? So they were just shut up in every aspect. And women love that. That's what when you ask a woman, what's the real man, they'll describe a slave, someone that's just gonna provide them money, protect them and die for them, and then shut up.
So
but that's the whole point. I think that kind of ties into Bo's point, is like the world telling them to shut up was a millennial and Gen X problem. Gen Z doesn't give a damn if you tell us to shut up. Gen Z is like, who are you to tell me anything? I'm going to scream even louder. You're not going to silence me. You're not going to stifle me. That's the point. You're
disagree.
talking about, is the world trying to shut them up? I never said the world wasn't trying to shut them up. But the question is talking about, will they shut up? No, they won't shut up. Even if you tell them to shut up, even if you're screaming at the top of your lungs that they're wrong, they don't care. That is something that is tied into Gen Z blood that they won't stop.
Fire generation of people, though. They can't even keep a job, so they might want to shut up. And that's for starters. We got to stop trying to coddle them. No, those are the most whiny group ever, is Gen Zs and lower millennials, and it shows. And for anybody to say the single mothers are raising good children, it overwhelmingly shows that they are not. Okay. Now, it also shows that poverty plays a huge role in how these same kids from these single mother homes are performing in life, and to think that a woman should just have kids out of wedlock and just bring another man around because they can have a role model has nothing to do with the child's biological father. And that's sad that we are promoting this garbage, that a woman should just, it's okay, she go out here and have kids by other men. Oh my God, just let her. So what? She's not married. Don't judge her and then get mad when another man, and then want another man to come around and be the kid's father. It doesn't work that way. There's something called DNA that child is going to emulate at some point in its life.
I know, but unfortunately, it does work that way, because women are just gonna keep doing it. They'll just they'll do it forever.
Hold on, Pearl.
I'm sorry. Exactly.
I know, they're just it's never gonna stop.
I'm not gonna let y'all misrepresent what I said.
Ever.
No one ever said that it was okay. No one ever said, because y'all you're talking about me. I never said that it was okay. I never
glorifying single motherism as if they're
never
I wasn't talking about you.
Children.
I did not glorify anything. I was stating facts.
Yes, that's not a fact.
Stating facts is glorifying. You know what? I said I wasn't gonna do this.
Raising better children. Show me a stat where single mothers are overwhelmingly the better parent.
The facts, the data shows that a child being raised in a two-parent household is just as good as that child being raised in a single father household. These are facts and data. You can look up for yourself. When a child is raised by a single mother, the child have a high chance of going to prison, going to jail, becoming a gang member, becoming a robber, rapist, all that kind of stuff, right? The child have a chance of being, raised in poverty, relying on government assistance. The child chance of succeeding in life is slim. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's very slim. It's the worst of the worst, right? Where when the child's raised with the father, the child still have a chance of getting great education, great success, not going to prison, not going to jail, not being out in the streets, not joining no gang, not trying to rob anybody. The dad plays a major role. That's why you think whenever you see a child, well, not even a child, whenever you see an adult do something bad, right? If you watch the news or somebody, rob somebody, or if you see a chick doing porn or whatever, what's the first thing we say when we see either a child or a grown adult do something bad? What's the first line do we say? Where was the father? That's the first thing we say. Well, where was the dad? We never blame the mother. We never say, well, where was the mom? We said, where was the dad? Because we know how important it is for that father to be in that child's life. And we know that for a fact that if the father and when the father is in that child's life or in the household, the child have a higher chance of success. This is facts. You might not like what I'm saying, but these are facts. Now, I'm not saying all single moms are horrible parents. I'm saying majority of single moms are horrible parents. They're the most abusive to the kids. They're the most ones that rely on poverty. They don't create generational wealth. They create curse, like broke curse. The single mom that raised a child, especially if the child have a daughter, most likely that daughter will end up becoming a single mom as well. These are facts. Look it up yourself, man.
Got it. You got it. No, you're right. You are so right, Lady
I
O.
know I'm right.
And I'm gonna give it to you.
Right.
You right about that.
I'm 100%.
Yeah, I also agree. Women are terrible parents generally. Horrible parents.
The biggest abusers.
Yeah, I actually think sometimes the kids are better off when the parents are divorced, but not because the women are better parents, but because then the kids get some peace and quiet at the dad's house, but only if there's like 50-50.
Right.
Like no
Okay,
nagging,
y'all
no
dragging
complaining.
Y'all dragging
No, none
it.
of that.
It's dragging. It's dragging now. We're
It's
not
like
gonna say
peace
all
and
women.
quiet.
Let me say, hold on. Let me say, I would say this because my kids were raised in a divorce home. The kids actually did better when they were with their father. That's just a fact. It's just a 100% fact. Even when it came down to discipline compared to when he disciplined, he didn't have to. I just talked to my kids. They're in their 30s. Yeah. He didn't have to discipline them the way I had to do it. His voice alone shut them down.
And it's always going to be like that, right? Because a man's presence is different than a woman's presence. We are nurturers. The way we handle things with our children are different. I don't think women as parents are horrible.
Well, if women are, I gotta come in. All right. I'll let you
are horrible parents. I think that single mother households struggle much more in raising their children. And the statistics do show that single parent households that are male leading are better. The kids end up better. And that's because the structure is different. We are here for the nurturing. That's why you need both.
Yeah,
right?
so
but we're just not gonna drag.
I disagree. Like, I'm gonna drag it. I am gonna drag it because if women are so nurturing, why do we keep killing kids? Yup. Women have aborted an eighth of the world population. That doesn't sound super nurturing to me.
But I
let you finish. My turn.
Right.
All right. So. And also, women are more likely to abuse children. In fact, when there's child abuse, it is never the guy. Pretty much, if it's a man, it's usually a guy that the woman brought in. Oh, the woman brings in the new boyfriend, he abuses the kids. So that's still the woman's fault. This idea that women are nurturing, well, what's your evidence for it? Other than we give birth, and anyone can do, like a dog can do that, a cat. So I don't think that makes us nurturing. I just don't see
biological makeup that women are nurturing, and I'm not saying all women are nurturing. Of course.
Let's touch upon what she said, what Pearl said, right? She said, like I also said this earlier too. The mothers, the women are literally the majority of them are the main ones that abuse children. For example, I used to be a teacher. I used to teach kids. I used to work in daycare, preschool, kindergarten, and I used to provide mentorship, outside therapy to kids from 5 years old to college. I've worked with kids from literally babies to all the way to high school, right? From daycare to high school. Whenever you work with kids, you have to take a lot of tests, right? And then one thing we always get is this quiz about, okay, who are the main abusers? Is the mom the main abuser when it comes to like dealing with children, or is it the father? And these tests ask that because there's a myth that society think that, oh, men are monsters, men are abusers, and men. Blah, blah, blah. A lot of time, the data will show that no, the correct answer is the mother is the one that is likely to abuse the child. And the reason why those tests have these kind of questions every time is because as teachers, our job is to be on the lookout for possible abuse happening in that child's home. So, therefore, if our view is always stuck on the father, on the man, because we think that, oh, he's the most abusive one, we will not see the signs of the kids that are raised with their mother, that child's being abused. I mean, just like how, let's just say, if two men walk into a store, right? One black man and one white man. You know how we all know how society brainwashed the world to feel like, to think that, oh, black men are robbers, criminals, and bad guys, right? And then white men not. That's what the world, brainwashed society to think. So let's just say two men walk in, one black, one white. The security guard will follow that black man, right? Because he has the spotlight on the black man, because that's what he's been told and brainwashed to believe, that black men are the one that goes out and rob stores. While he's following that black man around, thinking that he's gonna rob the store, guess what that white man gonna do? Steal everything. He's just gonna be stealing, put this stuff in his pants pocket, and then boom, and he get away with it because the security guard that's supposed to watch the floor, he's following the black man around because he believed that that's who's gonna rob the store. Meanwhile, the one that claimed to be innocent, he's doing all the robbing. So it's the exact same thing when it comes to mothers and fathers about who's the most abusive towards the child. Because once again, as a teacher, you might keep on looking when the child with the father and see, okay, is he or she being abused in the father's home, right? Meanwhile, the real abuser is the mother, but you're not looking at that child that lived with the mom because you believe that the father's the abuser. Really, the data shows that women are like the men abusers. Not all. I'm just saying majority. Another example too, right? Same thing where when it comes to like DV, domestic violence, we all believed at one point that, the ones that do a lot of physical domestic violence are men. But that's also false. Majority of domestic violence come from women. They started, and they're also the main one that actually do it the most to men. So society have a spotlight on the man when it comes to physical violence, but really under the table, the women are like beating up their spouse, scratching them, breaking things, and the men are not reporting it because if reported, it's gonna make us look soft, weak, So a lot of men sometimes will get abused by their spouse and still want to protect their spouse. We get no cool points by being victim, where women they get cool points for the whole sob story and being victim. That's a plus for them. For us, that's not a plus. Like we get nothing out of that.
There are bad women out there, and there are also fathers who abuse their children. So we're not going to only say that only women.
I will
say
that most it is a fact that the majority of abuse is done by women. Like imagine and I know, but
we never say it all. We never say it all.
I actually didn't. I didn't, but I said the majority.
We can run it back.
I said the majority. Okay, are you trying to nitpick here? Or are you trying to understand what I'm saying?
Nitpick. I'm just saying you're making a statement.
So notice how this black girl right here, right? What's her name? Timer or whatever. So notice how she's not arguing about majority women are abusers. Like no duh. Like we all know there's good people out there and there's bad people out there. There's good men, there's bad men, there's good women, there's bad women. It's not all. It would never be all. But majority, that is a very alarming amount. When somebody said majority, that's alarming. That should be like your main focus, not whether or not she said all.
Yeah,
that
I
are
know, but you're
not
proving
sexual,
my
and you're
point even further by the
dragging it.
nagging.
And that's
And
probably why
see
your
the
platforms get demonetized, because
I'm not lying.
you lied, right? And we
actually
should be
telling the
telling the
truth.
truth
I
instead of
am.
just stating that,
I
right?
mean,
We're not going to just sit here and attack all women when that's not true.
One out of
And
three
I
women
wanted to
have
respond to the abortion thing.
one out of three women have killed a kid, and the majority of abuse is done by women. You're the one that's misrepresenting that by saying I'm lying, because that's true. The
What are you
majority,
talking about? You said man never abused
the
their children.
majority,
That's
they
a lie.
rarely,
There are men that abuse children too, just like there are women
they're
that abuse children. And
they're
what we rather,
they're
if most women are so terrible and they're not nurturers, then why do we have a problem with them aborting children if they're not going to take care of them correctly and just abuse them and kill them once they're in the world anyway? I
okay,
think if
thanks.
a
Good
woman
question.
decides that she is not
Good
prepared or
question.
ready, and we don't know her
Good
circumstances
question.
because anything could have happened,
Good
then
question.
she should terminate that pregnancy instead of bringing a life into this world that she's not going to take care for.
I mean, I'd actually prefer she gives the kid. I'd actually
why she gotta
prefer.
go that far?
Why she gotta get pregnant?
It
Why
would
she
be
gotta
the
get
best
pregnant?
logical thing not to get pregnant, but that's not realistic, right?
It is
It
real.
would be the best logical thing for these
If we
children
preach
to keep a job, but that's not realistic. That's not what's happening.
Okay, so I'd like to address a few things that you said. Could I do it without you interrupting me? Is that possible? Is it possible? I'm just asking, because otherwise I won't even go. You know what I mean? It's okay. So when it comes to the abortion, I think it's actually very realistic to not get pregnant. And in fact, men have made it so easy to not get pregnant. Women said, I want to have casual sex. So the men said, here you go, here's condoms. And then the women said, no, I want to let him hit it raw. And they said, fine, do that. Here's plan B. They still couldn't do it. They're like, just take this pill the next day. Can you take it? And they're like, no, we can't do that. And so then they said, all right, here's an IUD, 99% effective. You shove it up there, and then you're done. You don't have to worry about this. Can you do that? The women said no. They said, here's a pill. Can you take this pill daily? Can you do it? And the ladies are like, no, it's too hard. They said, okay, we've done all this research. Track your cycle. You can only get pregnant a few days of the month. And the women said, no, we can't do that either. They're like, here's an ovulation stick. You can even track when you're ovulating. Here, you can track it on your phone. Can you do that? And the women said, no, that's too hard. Here's a stick for your arm. You can shove this in your arm. Can you do that and not get pregnant? And the women still said no. They said, okay, here's an abortion pill where you can just take the pill in the first month. Is that enough? Is that enough for you guys? And they said, no, that's still too hard. So yeah, I actually think it's tough being a woman because my gender just lets me down a lot. You know what I mean? If we were so nurturing, we wouldn't raise such terrible kids. My sister works at a daycare, and she says she sees a stark difference between the kids with two parents and one, or the kids with a dad in their life and that not. She says they're more rambunctious, they don't listen, they have no discipline. And, a lot of times women, I don't really find women, someone said that women have kids to put their trauma on them. And maybe that's somewhat true. I think women have kids more for the attention and the clout rather than wanting to raise another human being, where the men are really good people. So and men don't abuse their children en masse. There are exceptions, yeah, but overwhelmingly the majority of the time, women are the ones abusing children. It's over 50% of abuse is done by women. If it's done by a man, it's usually a man the woman brought into the kid's life. So that's just a fact. And yeah, that's really all I got to say.
Yeah, and to finish this off, I like how she said, her sister noticed the kids at her daycare that were raised fatherless were the ones that misbehaved the most. And I've dealt with the exact same experience, like I said before, right? Teaching, working with kids literally from infant all the way to, college. These kids that were raised without a father, they were always in trouble, either going to juvie, getting suspended, getting into fights, causing chaos in the classroom, disrupting the classroom, biting teachers, fighting teachers, just grades are low, skipping school, versus like the kids that were raised with their father or in a two parents household. Them kids were, grades were great. They were not getting suspended. They wasn't causing no chaos. They were very respectful, polite. They wasn't going to juvie. They wasn't joining any kind of gangs, any kind of sexual crazy activities and all that kind of stuff. It was a very big difference, right? So I could tell exactly who the children were that was fatherless versus the ones that had fathers. Now, before you said, well, why do dads leave them to be fatherless? A lot of time it's not that the father leave the kids to be fatherless. A lot of time it's just the mothers are refusing to allow the child to have a father because they either bitter or just selfish. And so they pretty much use the child as a weapon, as a pawn, as a tool to harm the father emotionally. And unfortunately, the how the court system is, based and family law is based, they're very biased towards the woman. And a lot, like I said, 9 out of 10 after the marriage, when the divorce happened, the mother get 100% custody. And even if they had the sex, had the child out of marriage, she have 100% for a fact full custody, and the afterlife fight to get any kind of custody in the child's life. Overall, look, I'm all for both parents being involved. That's where I stand. I believe the child should have both the mom and the father. But at the end of the day, we can't argue with data. Facts will always be on top of feelings, and the facts and the data shows that the child will be successful with two parents household and will still be successful with just a single father household versus the single mother household. You might not like what I'm saying. Facts are facts. As always, this is what Be the CEO. Listen, what are your thoughts? Do you agree? Do you disagree? What do you think about all this? What they said, what I said? Comment below. As always, like the video, share the video, and definitely share it to your peers, your friends, social media followers, and subscribe for more and follow for more. I'm out. Have a good day, man. All right, so last thing, listen, if you are a parent and you have a court order in place, but it's being violated because the other person is either denying time sharing or bad mouthing you in front of the child, and you want to take action, but you can't afford an attorney because they are very expensive. Well, good thing, man. Listen, I have a new tool called Docket Mind. Docket Mind will help you create a motion under 5 minutes without spending thousands on attorneys. It's very simple. Go to docketmind.com, click Start My Motion. From there on, put in your very basic info that you need inside of a motion. And after that, it's very easy. Just tap in what it's asking you. It's pretty much like multiple choice. You're not writing anything to describe the motion or what happened, what's going on. This platform, Docket Mind, will do everything for you. Within 5 minutes or less, you will have a court-ready motion that you can file by yourself. Right now, we launch in Florida, but we will be in other states. If you're not in Florida, just go here, go to Docket Mind, and kind of just go to join the wait list. And from there on, just kind of add your information, which states are you in, your name, your email, and also what's the issue. And then when we launch in your state, you will be notified. All right, guys, take care, okay? Don't forget, docketmind.com.